Yes, Jessica, I'll give you. There probably is a bigot somewhere, but you guys created a false flag that there was this immense movement going on in this country that then put targets on people like Charlie Kirk's back, and he's dead. Because there are people like you, Jessica, who have such a sunk cost in this belief that this is a belief you were tricked into believing, to think that there's all these racists hiding behind every Cracker Barrel. No, you know where the racists were?
Jessica Tarlov never ceases to amaze me by how far she'll go to defend the indefensible. And no matter what she pulls from her DNC playbook, nothing she can say will justify this. Don't forget to subscribe.
And it's
what
exposed.
Hate crime hoax?
The liberal goes, Justice Smollett, anyone?
No, I didn't
how about
say
the banana peel on the bench?
Yeah,
how about the
Walmart
noose
shooter
at the race
is a banana
track?
peel. What hoax have you actually seen here? You don't think that hundreds of people showed up at the Unite the Right rally that weren't this informant, that weren't persuaded by his vehicle that got them there? Which
Who was the informant?
I don't. What?
You don't know. Was it the leader? An informant is not a leader.
Do you think
it's also? I mean,
you think
that's
there are white supremacists there? That it's not real?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Are you
All I know is I never heard of it.
Typical liberal, incapable of controlling her emotions, Jessica still hasn't realized that the era of feelings is over. And it's time to snap back into reality and face the facts.
The rally in Charlottesville in 2017 was funded and organized by SPLC. They paid the guy who did that $270,000.
The actual organizer of the entire event.
Of that event. The one that has been the basis for screaming that Donald Trump is a racist. It was SPLC that organized, provided transportation for, and paid the person who did it $270,000. They made $65 million off that one event. $65 million, all based upon a lie. I don't call that infiltration. I call that being actively involved in the organization. They're the ones creating the racism. They're the ones funding the KKK, funding the Unite the Right rally, funding these so-called radicals, but it's all SPLC.
So you think this blows this open?
I think that this blows this whole thing open. I don't think that there's enough racism in this country for SPLC to make the millions of dollars that they need to operate. Because if they existed at the level that the SPLC claims that they did, why would they have to fund them themselves?
Because it doesn't exist the way the left wants America to believe it does. You see, Democrats need racism to keep the country divided, even if they have to create it themselves. But let's get back to Jessica Tarlov's insufferable and pathetic defense of the SPLC.
Do you think there,
it's also, I mean,
you think there
that's
are white supremacists there? That it's not real?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Are you
All I know is I never heard of it until the day that it happened. You act like you can take the word for a bunch of corrupt people.
Proud Boys.
So you're saying this wasn't created. You're saying this just was an organic event, just like every left-wing event. It just happened. All these right-wingers showed up. Nobody else knew about it. And you know what? Nobody
people are real.
Nobody.
The white supremacists
You know
who got the call to action.
That's like saying the No Kings protesters are real because they got a call to action. But if people are being paid to protest, then is there really an actual movement? Because it seems to me like they're all just extras in a movie funded and directed by the Democrats. And let's not forget about this.
Biden's DOJ partnered with the SPLC, then turned around and cited them to say white supremacy was the biggest threat to the country. But then the banks flagged the fraud to the feds, and the Biden White House shut down the investigation. Because what else would Kamala have to run on?
Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side.
Let me do the simplest analogy. This is like when somebody says, on average, men are taller and way more than women. And then one woman goes, but what about her? And they point to a WNBA player. Yes, Jessica, I'll give you. There probably is a bigot somewhere, but you guys created a false flag that there was this immense movement going on in this country that then put targets on people like Charlie Kirk's back, and he's dead. And a lot of other people were either threatened, physically attacked because of a false flag, which painted an entire, basically, millions of people as white supremacists. You guys ran with it.
They absolutely ran with it and repeated it every time there was a TV camera present. So all the people who believe everything they see on TV knew two things for sure: that white supremacy was the biggest threat to America and Donald Trump was the biggest threat to our democracy.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
The Department of Homeland Security says white supremacy will still be the most persistent and lethal threat in the U.S. through 2021.
The biggest threat to our country today, says the FBI's director, is white supremacy. Merrick Garland said the biggest threat to our democracy is white supremacy. He said white supremacy is the biggest threat to our country.
The president yesterday at his commencement address for the Howard University graduates called white supremacy the major domestic terror threat in this country. Is that correct?
It tragically is.
White women in particular want to protect the patriarchy here because it's to their benefit.
Because if that's the case, let's talk about the white supremacists and how many of them need to be kicked out of this country, because I can guarantee you I can track down more crimes that they've committed, because overall immigrants have a lower crime committal rate than white supremacists. But we don't want to talk about that in this country.
Racism has long torn us apart. It's a battle that's never really over. But on the best days, enough of us have the guts and the hearts to stand up for the best in us, to choose love over hate, unity over disunity, progress over retreat, to stand up against the poison of white supremacy, as I did my inaugural address, to single out as the most dangerous terrorist threat to our homeland is white supremacy.
I would say our country should be more fearful of white men across our country, because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country. We should be profiling, monitoring, and creating policies to fight the radicalization of white men.
What the Democrats need to do, and it's so obvious at this point, is brand them with it, is basically take this replacement theory and now make it the Republican racist replacement theory. Make every Republican answer, do you believe in it or not? Brand every Republican, this is the party of the replacement theory. Take what is a sliver, or I'm a real minority, but a minority, and make it the entire raison d'etre of the Republican Party. Do the same thing with violence. It's the RV party. It's the Republican Violence Party. Brand them this is judo. The very, very heinous things that they stand for and are hiding behind, brand them on it. Take a branding iron, put it on them, so that any mainstream Republican has to wear that badge.
And we won't ignore what our intelligence agencies have determined to be the most lethal terrorist threat to the homeland today. White supremacy is terrorism.
It seems like they had it all figured out. Hoax after hoax, the left has been attempting to terrify America with their fear-mongering allies. They've gotten so greedy for power that they've had to create and promote division so they could show up as the heroes. You know, the justice warriors.
Imagine if Trump had not won and Kamala Harris had won. Imagine where the SPLC would be now. Imagine how torn apart this country would be. And by the way, I hope that this thing mends, but I don't know, because there are people like you, Jessica, who have such a sunk cost in this belief that this is a belief you were tricked into believing, to think that there's all these racists hiding behind every Cracker Barrel. No, you know what the racists were? They were the anti-racist black activists who saw this as a way to go after whites. This racism that you created was designed to allow for a different kind of racism. And I go back to the contrast. We don't have to defend our racists because we don't know who they are, because you create them. Meanwhile, we don't have to make up your racist because you're standing there with Hassan Piker. These guys are right there in our face.
Jessica got extremely quiet once Greg started shredding her narrative to pieces. Like I said earlier, I don't believe there is anything Jessica won't defend for her party at this point, no matter how baseless her claims are. Remember, just the other day, she was defending Eric Swalwell. She says what she's told and gets hysterical when anyone tries to counter her argument, just like The View, make insane claims and then scream and throw a fit to distract anyone else from correcting them. She's nothing more than just another talking head, repeating the same DNC talking points. But at the end of the day, the Democrats learned a long time ago that fueling racism was a very lucrative business. And the SPLC just proved that by turning a $275,000 investment into $68 million just from one single event. Now that's even more lucrative than the Obamas, who get paid $700,000 to $800,000 just to talk for an hour. considering all the SPLC had to do was make a wire transfer instead of getting on stage and pretending to be a victim for an hour. But we're going off topic. What we saw with the SPLC just goes to show there's a huge demand for racism, and they were more than willing to supply it. Because at the end of the day, it's all just a grift. A massive grift by the left. Just like the No Kings protest. All these people just all of a sudden showed up out of nowhere with all these perfectly printed signs, or in the case of Charlottesville, tiki torches by the bundles, as if it were all just mere coincidence. And isn't it funny how the Democrats claim to be so anti-king, but they were all groveling at the feet of King Charles. They wouldn't stand in belief that American citizens should come before immigrants, but gave a king from a foreign land a standing ovation. The hypocrisy to me is unbelievable. That's all I have for today, so be sure to let me know what you think of this in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel. And if you're already one of my 118 subscribers, I want to thank you so much for supporting the channel. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.